So we got weight loss, thyroid, malnutrition. We got shortness of breath, thyroid, adrenal glands, all right, and the hippocampus and the hypothalamus gland. Because remember, you have the hypothalamus, thyroid, and adrenal axis feedback. Y'all can Google that. It will show you the whole feedback loop that it go through. Now, next thing we know, we got constant chest pain, but the chest pain is coming from the metabolic acidosis, and he's probably eating food that got too much carbonated gases in them. He's probably eating too many proteins. That's going to take a high amount of hydrochloric acid to try to break down, but it's not going to be able to break it down. He's probably eating spicy foods, processed foods. All of these foods, these unnatural foods that we are eating, will actually cause the blowback and cause all this acid to back up within the cardiac sphincter, open that door, and then burn the esophagus area. And sometimes it feel like you actually having a heart attack when you're not. So we got to deal with that, right? Then we see, now look, this is how you know that the case is going in the right way. Whenever you're looking at a case and you finna give your final recommendation, go through the whole case and see if everything come together. Now we're talking about burning in the stomach. Burning in the stomach. Burning in the stomach is hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid. He's already talking about burning in the chest. We know that he's lacking minerals. The mineral is magnesium. Magnesium acts as the catalyst that closed that cardiac sphincter door to shut off the stomach to the esophagus. Now we have burning in the stomach. He have too much hydrochloric acid and is at a very, very harsh and potent content within inside of the stomach. So we already know that his mucocytes, or what you would call mucus that's in his stomach, mixing with his pepsinogen, something is wrong there with the actual acidic environment in his stomach, and he's constantly trying to break down food and he can't break it down because something is going on with the pancreas. See that? Because the pancreas give you enzymes. The pancreas give you, these alkalining enzymes to actually put out that fire if it's too much of a fire. And this is where they get baking soda from. You see that? It's called sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate is actually produced naturally by the actual pancreas to actually alkaline the food after it go through its acidic process when it was in the stomach, actually getting all that acid to try to break and tear it down to its macro and micronutrients. So now we see that we got a glandular problem because the thyroid gland is not acting right. The hypothalamus gland is not acting right. The hippocampus is not acting right. The autonomic nervous system, which is controlled by the adrenal gland, is not working right. So we see that this is a glandular problem. So automatically, I'm going to write down endocrine system. So I'm going to get my notepad and write down endocrine system. So we know that we're going to have to pay attention to that. So after I wrote those notes down, now I got to keep going. All right. So right now we on the endocrine system. So this is the glandular highway. Now let's keep going. So we got weight loss, thyroid, shortness of breath, thyroid, hypothalamus gland, hippocampus, and the adrenal glands. We got chest pains. This is talking about the stomach. This is talking about the lack of minerals, or what you would call the lack of magnesium. Burning in the stomach. Too much high content of hydrochloric acid. All right. Now, and then remember, he might have ulcers. So at this point, as I'm talking to him, I'm going to say, well, do you suffer from ulcers? Then I'm going to ask him about H. pylori. Did they test you for Helicobacter pylori? Have you been tested for aspergillus? Have you been tested for mucormycosis? Now I'm thinking like parasitic infection. He got a parasitism. So now I'm going to start asking all these type of questions, because this is the bed for actual pleomorphic bacteria to metamorphosize or pleomorphosize themselves into parasites to come help clean up the situation. See, at this point, I want to take him to the blood analysis room. I want to draw some blood. I want to look at the blood under a microscope. I want to test it on the PCR machine. I want to see what's going on with the blood, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be traces and signs of parasites. So I'm going to write that down and put a question mark. I'm just going to say parasites, question mark. And then you ask them about H. pylori, or what they call Helicobacter pylori, because H. pylori do causes some of these things. H. pylori will cause stomach ulcers. H. pylori will cause sphincter ulcers, pyloric sphincter ulcers. So we got to ask him about H. pylori. If he say no, keep going, but write it down anyway, because it might be something that he don't know that you got to test on your own. All right. Now we getting down to the nitty gritty, right? Because now he's saying he got bloatiness, fullness, and gassiness. Where do bloat come from? Bloat come from gas. We have to remember that we are a combustion chamber. We deal with gases. You breathe in gases called oxygen. You exhale a gas called carbon dioxide. You see what I'm saying? So you need gas. Matter of fact, you exchange gas all day. Oxygen goes through your bloodstream, go through something called pneumocytes, so what you will call your cells that make up your respiratory system, and they exchange actual oxygen for hemoglobin and hemoglobin for oxygen. Oxygen for carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide for oxygen by the way of hemoglobin or iron. You see that? Or ferritin. So we automatically thinking bloatiness. Hold on, what's going on? Why is the gas off? Have a unnatural gas been introduced to his body? Yes, it has. Methane. The only time you get bloatiness, the only time you get that fullness feeling and you get gassiness and you got to funkerize the world is if the microbes are imbalanced or the microbiota is imbalanced in your intestines. And the reason why it's imbalanced is because they're trying to break down food and they can't break this food down. So the harder they work, they start creating byproducts or what you would call metabolic waste because they're trying to ferment and digest and help break down your food so they can bring it to the pyloric sphincter. Inside the pyloric sphincter, you have these blood capillary beds, and then all of the phytonutrients get fed to the blood capillary bed. Now you got the delivery system. You got the DoorDash. What's another one we got now, B? We got DoorDash. You got your GoHub. That's basically your Grubhub. That's basically what the blood does inside the system. It picks up the food from the actual duodenum by way of the blood capillaries, right? And then you got the store workers that's bringing the food out to the car that we're going to call the microbes, or that we're going to call the microbiota or the microbiota, which is these microorganisms. They passing it over to the blood. The blood is going to go to each 150 trillion cells and deliver what it needs to the exact. If the body is in homeostasis. Now, if the body is not in homeostasis, it might be a traffic stop. You might get pulled over by the police on the way. The police is what they call the immune system. I'm going to call it the lymphatic defense system. You might get pulled over by an eosinophil. You might get pulled over by a neutrophil. You might get pulled over by a basophil. See, the basophil, he's dealing with allergens. He's dealing with antibodies. He's dealing with foreign invaders. He's dealing with parasitics. The eosinophils is dealing with viral loads. It's dealing with DNA and genomes floating around in the system. The neutrophil dealing with all of them, but it's really dealing with acids and out of check or what you would call pleomorphic microorganisms, depending on the highway. Look, the police is out there every time. And the police will be your lymphatic defense system. You see that? So we looking at the bloatiness, and we know that the microbes is actually in the stomach overworking themselves. When they overworking themselves, they exert energy. The absorption of this energy actually creates a byproduct, and this byproduct is called methane gas. You see that? It's called methane gas. So they are in your system farting and pooping. And then you get bloated because we're talking about trillions of microbes in your stomach farting and pooping. So that methane start blowing up. Now you start seeing your belly expand. You start seeing your gut expand. You start feeling your liver get inflammation in it. Then you start funkerizing the world. And it stink because you eating things you're not supposed to be eating anyway. And most likely you are mixing foods up, and you don't have the knowledge on how to properly combine your foods. You mixing your protein with your fruits. You see that? You mixing your sweet fruits, which are very, very citric fruits. Not saying that everybody go through this if they mix them wrong, but most people that have an obstructed bowel, if you improperly combine your food wrong, this is going to cause these type of reactions too, because you have two types of digestive processes that happens. One in what you will call Homo sapiens sapiens, or who you will call the primate kingdom or the humanoid kingdom, is called fermentation, where your food's supposed to ferment, then break down, and then you slowly receive the absorption of the micronutrients and the phytonutrients and everything that you need to rebuild your molecular structure. The next one goes to the feline or the carnivore kingdom. That is called putrefaction. You see that? And that is the rotting, death, and the decay thereof. And that brings on some gnarly parasites. And it causes a bunch of pleomorphic microorganisms that have to change and shapeshift just to be able to take on that load, for they can become the garbage man to take out their trash. And guess what? That's a lot of hard work. So you building up all of this gas, and this gas got you feeling full. Not only that, got you feeling bloated. Not only that, he said he feel fullness. That means, I bet you my bottom dollar, that he's not pooping every day. An average person that's in a state of homeostasis supposed to have 3 stools a day. 3 stools a day. Now, if he's in an intermittent, or he or she is in an intermittent fasting state, Okay, two stools a day. But when you wake up, you supposed to poop. And the reason why when you wake up, you supposed to poop, because the previous night before you were fast asleep. The word fast means abstaining from eating. You are fast asleep. When you're in a fasted state for more than 10 hours, your body kick on something called autophagy. Auto means self. Phagy means eating. Autophagy is literally when new stem cells are actually activated, and what you will call the immune system, or what I'm going to call the lymphatic defense system, is activated. And what happens is all the macrophages, all the neutrophils, all these eosinophils, all the basophils, all of these different defense mechanisms actually leave from the lymphatic system, leave from the lymph nodes. It goes throughout the bloodstream and goes in and back and forth throughout the tissues that make up the body, and they cause havoc and they clean up your body. And you go through this detoxification phase only when you sleep. And I was just talking to a member or a patient earlier today, and we was talking about restoration. And I said, notice if you slow down and you really say that word slow, restoration. Restoration means to restore something, right? It means to bring something back new, to regenerate, to revive, right? Think about the first four letters. Rest. You need rest to heal, because when you're awake, all of your alert, all that energy and vitality that's coming from adenosine triphosphate, what we call ATP, that's actually going towards your actual cells. It's going towards your alertness. It's going towards serotonin. It's going towards your digestive system. All of that energy is being absorbed and exerted to go towards digestion and awakeness, consciousness, and alertness. So you're not going towards no healing. You're not opening up metabolic pathways and detoxification pathways, NRF2 pathways. You're not kicking on glutathione to purge all these different toxins out of the body. Your energy is going towards you being alive. But when you rest and when you go to sleep, and autophagy kicks in, guess what? All of that beautiful energy is now utilized to heal and rest or restore the body. So I can tell right now he's having a very, very hard time sleeping, right?